The sun sparkled over the coral reef as Ollie Octopus swam toward the Reef Games arena. His heart thumped with excitement at the thought of joining. Coral the clownfish waved from a rock shelf, holding a big book about knots. "I want to join, but I can't tie the special knot," Ollie said. Coral the clownfish swam closer, her bright fins flicking in the gentle current. "Don't worry, Ollie," she said. "I'll help you learn." Around them, the reef shimmered with darting fish of every color. Ollie felt a spark of hope growing inside him as he listened. Finley, the flying fish, swooped down from above, his purple body glistening in the sun. His goggles flashed brightly as he landed gracefully on a sandy patch. "I heard you need knot practice," he said with a grin. Ollie smiled at his friend's energetic arrival and felt braver already. Spike the pufferfish bobbed in from the kelp forest, his blue spikes catching the light. His red-striped scarf trailed behind as he moved. "Let's make this a proper quest," Spike said firmly. The four friends huddled together, their voices low as they planned the training adventure ahead. They swam to a quiet lagoon where the water lay calm and clear. Coral the clownfish read aloud from her big knot book, her voice steady. Ollie tried looping a rope made of seaweed around a shell. His first attempt tangled into a funny mess that made them laugh. "Looks like mistake number 1, Finley the flying fish laughed, flipping high into the air. Ollie chuckled at the mess and shook his head. He picked up the seaweed rope again, ready for another try. The friends encouraged him with cheerful shouts that echoed through the lagoon. Spike the pufferfish puffed up slightly, floating right beside Ollie. "Steady fins, Ollie," he said in a calm voice. Ollie took a deep breath, determined to improve. He made another loop slowly, only to tie it backward. The seaweed rope slipped apart in his tentacles again. Mistakes began to pile up as the sun dipped lower over the reef. Coral the clownfish marked each attempt with a seashell placed on a rock. "That's mistake number 20, she said, smiling kindly. Ollie grinned, not letting the growing pile of shells dampen his determination. Night began to fall, and the reef glowed with soft bioluminescent lights. Finley the flying fish zipped around the lagoon, bringing Ollie fresh seaweed ropes. "Let's keep going," he shouted, his voice full of energy. Ollie felt grateful for such lively, determined friends beside him. Ollie Octopus tried twisting the rope in a new way, concentrating hard. Spike the pufferfish hovered nearby, watching closely for mistakes. "Almost right," Spike said after a moment, "but you crossed the loops wrong." Ollie sighed, then reached for another length of seaweed to try again. Coral the clownfish turned a page in her notebook, showing a large diagram. "See, this part must be tight," she explained gently. Ollie nodded and followed the picture carefully. Still, the knot slipped apart, and mistake number 50 joined the growing count on the rock. The friends laughed together, their voices carrying warmly through the quiet lagoon. "Every mistake is one step closer," Finley the flying fish said confidently. Ollie felt braver with each try, his tentacles moving more surely. He began to believe he could master the knot after all. They moved to a sandy clearing where the moonlight shone bright over the reef. Spike the pufferfish set up a goal post made from driftwood sticks. "Tie the knot here," he challenged with a grin. Ollie accepted, ready to test what he had learned so far. Ollie Octopus wrapped the rope carefully around the driftwood post, following Coral's instructions. The knot began to take shape under his tentacles. Then it slipped apart, earning mistake number 65. "Close," Coral the clownfish said encouragingly, her eyes warm despite the failure. Finley, the flying fish, leapt high over the driftwood, pretending to be a cheering crowd. "You've got this, Ollie!" he shouted with excitement. The night air felt cool and fresh around them. Ollie smiled and readied himself for another determined attempt at the knot. Ollie's tentacles worked faster now, but the knot kept twisting the wrong way. Spike the pufferfish floated upside down, making silly faces. Ollie laughed between tries, shaking his head. The sound of their laughter mixed with the gentle splash of the lagoon's waves. Coral the clownfish pointed to Ollie's grip on the rope. "Hold tighter here," she said clearly. Ollie adjusted his hold and tried again. The knot still failed, and mistake number 80 rolled in. He grinned, despite the setback, determined not to stop. The tide whispered softly against the rocks as the friends kept count together. Finley the flying fish zoomed in wide circles, chanting numbers with each attempt. Ollie grinned at the playful rhythm. He refused to give up, knowing the goal was almost in reach. Spike the pufferfish gave Ollie a pep talk about heroic persistence. "True adventurers never stop," he said firmly, his eyes steady. Ollie listened closely, feeling his determination grow. This was his quest, and he intended to see it through to the very end. Ollie tried tying the knot with his eyes closed for extra practice. Coral the clownfish giggled at the sight. "That's mistake 85, but it was creative," she said warmly. Ollie laughed, thinking maybe creativity could help him find the right way. Finley the flying fish brought a tougher rope made from thick kelp strands. "If you can do it with this, you can do it with anything," he said proudly. Ollie accepted the challenge, feeling the kelp's weight in his tentacles as he prepared. The kelp rope twisted stubbornly, fighting against Ollie's careful loops. He worked patiently, determined to master it. Spike the pufferfish floated nearby, counting mistake 90 aloud. Ollie nodded, ready to try again without letting the number bother him. Coral the clownfish clapped her fins together. "We're so close," she said excitedly. She turned to the last page of her book, revealing a final diagram. The picture glowed in the moonlight, its lines clear and sure. Ollie leaned forward to study it. Ollie Octopus studied the diagram with full attention, tracing each part in his mind. Finley the flying fish hovered close, his goggles catching the moonlight. "Try it exactly like the picture," he suggested. Ollie nodded, ready to follow every detail carefully. Ollie's tentacles moved slowly, following each step from the diagram. Spike the pufferfish whispered, "Breathe steady," in a calm voice. The knot slipped again at the final pull. Mistake 95 joined the list, but Ollie stayed calm and focused on the next try. The friends gathered closer, their eyes fixed on Ollie's work. Coral the clownfish said softly, 5 more tries left before the big day." Ollie felt the weight of the moment. He promised himself he would give his best to each attempt. Ollie tried again and again, his tentacles looping with care. Mistake 99 came after a small slip at the end. Finley, the flying fish, did a quick victory loop anyway, laughing. The friend's energy kept Ollie's spirits high despite the repeated failures. Mistake number 100 came when Ollie pulled the rope too hard. The loops tightened unevenly, making the knot collapse. Spike the pufferfish laughed warmly. "One more try, hero," he said, giving Ollie an encouraging nod before the final attempt. Ollie Octopus closed his eyes and remembered every tip from his friends. He began the final attempt with slow, steady movements. Coral the clownfish held her breath as she watched closely. The lagoon felt silent, except for the gentle swish of water. The rope looped perfectly under Ollie's skilled tentacles, each twist snug and strong. Finley the flying fish gasped in delight. "It's right," he shouted. The knot held firm against the driftwood, unmoving, even when Ollie gave it a strong tug. Spike the pufferfish puffed with pride at the sight of the perfect knot. "You've done it, Ollie," he said happily. The friends cheered loudly under the glowing reef lights, their voices carrying across the water like a joyful song. Morning arrived, and the Reef Games began with colorful banners waving in the current. Ollie Octopus stepped forward proudly, the perfect knot in his tentacles. He swam toward the judges' table, feeling the warmth of his friends' support behind him. The judges inspected the knot carefully, turning it this way and that. They nodded in approval, their expressions pleased. Coral the clownfish leaned closer to Ollie and whispered, "You've already won in my heart." Ollie smiled at her words. Finley the flying fish soared above the crowd as the announcer's voice rang out. "Gold medal for Ollie Octopus," he declared. Spike the pufferfish clapped his fins joyfully, and the reef erupted into cheers that echoed through the game's arena. Ollie Octopus held his gold medal high, the sunlight making it gleam. He turned to his friends with a proud smile. "One more try can untie any problem," he said. The reef erupted again in happy cheers, celebrating their hero's hard-earned victory. Ollie curled up in his cozy kelp bed, feeling proud and calm. "Tomorrow's knots will be even easier," he said, drifting into gentle dreams.